Hello, 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 good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you may be. I am Sharika Sanders, owner and CEO of Transform the Gap, and that's Goals Assigned Achieving Purpose, where I work with accountants as a mentor to help them who are overlooked, overworked, and not really feeling fulfilled in their careers to find that fulfillment, to find that next promotion, to speak up for themselves professionally and all the things that would make for an exciting work-life balance and a fulfilled accountant, regardless of where you may be currently in your career. And today I have, as I always say, someone that I know that you should know. And this one, this is a good one, guys. So I have Mr. Manish. Thank you so much for taking the time and opportunity to speak with me today. And please tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you, Sharika. What a pleasure to be on your program here. And I'm looking forward to continuing our relationship beyond this podcast because I personally have enjoyed our connection. Give a little bit of my background. I was born in a city called Agra, which, if you're familiar with India, that's where Taj Mahal is located. And I grew up in India. I have a bachelor's in electrical engineering, master's in systems from one of the prestigious universities in India called IIT. But here is the funny part. I was a programmer for 12 years and I hated my job. And that was not
Mm.
fun for me. Now, some people love their jobs, fantastic, good. I was one of those people who was a misfit, which is the reason I wrote the book called Stop Hiring Losers. I was the loser. And you were like, what do you mean by that, Minesh?
Oh my goodness.
Well, the reason is that when you are working in any environment, you have to, as a leader, ask yourself, do I have the right people on my team for, NBA as a basketball? I'm a great guy, but I don't
Yeah,
think LeBron James is going to pick me anytime soon
right,
because I would be on the wrong team. So when I say loser, I'm
right.
not really talking about loser as a person. I'm talking about loser as when your goal is winning, you want the right people in the right seat on the bus. And that is
Hmm.
what, if you don't have, you end up having people who are not going to bring you the results you're looking for, whether it is sports, corporate environment, or anywhere. You're looking for the right person in the right seat, which is the reason I wrote the book, Stop Hiring Losers. For 24 years, I've been on my own, and I love that. So that's a quick background about myself.
Thank you for that. That's amazing. And it brings, I guess, at some point, while I love what I did in accounting, um, I didn't want to become a loser. And so I knew that I needed to leave because otherwise they would have had the wrong person in that seat for their team because I was no longer fulfilled in my career. So thank you for that and for providing the explanation. And while I feel like you've already given us nuggets, even with that definition, uh, please tell us what is one thing that you know that we should know?
I think the main part that I think people need to realize is that we have inherent talents. And I'll give you a little story. I don't know how much time you have on this particular question. So I grew up pretty much in academic career. I was a nerd. I was getting A grade, really standing number one in my class and all that kind of stuff. And as I progressed further, came over to US, was in different environments, one of the things I realized is that we attach too much importance to other people's opinions. And I remember Les Brown, his speech has a famous sentence, don't let other people's opinion become your reality. And
Mm-hmm.
what has happened is we are trapped, in my opinion, in a world, and that is across the world. It's not just US, it's not just India, it's everywhere on the planet. We have been trapped by a system which is the higher education system, where what we have done is given away our identity to the degrees, the certificates we have collected. So when you go to a place in a party or somewhere else, people typically ask you a question, what do you do? And it's not surprising. People don't say, I'm a human being who takes on different endeavors. That's not who
Mm-hmm.
we say we are, right? We say we are an accountant, an engineer, a doctor, and
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. So, what has
Mm-hmm.
happened is over the course of the time period of when we have collected all these certificates, diplomas, degrees, we have created an identity of ourselves which traps us and does not provide us the opportunity to look beyond it. So what does that really mean? What it means is that the sooner you can get rid of any such identity created by other people, get rid of it. So for me
Yes.
personally, what I did, I decided long ago, before I had children, that I would not have my children be that. So my children have been homeschooled. And as I mentioned to you, Sharika, my daughter will be speaking at TEDx next week in Denver, Colorado. She's 21. She's a very good speaker. She's also an author with me in another book. And she has interviewed very successful people, including $100 people who have earned $1 million plus in their year. And she has interviewed like 350 professionals so far in the last 4 years since starting at the age of 17, which I think is very educational instead of sitting in a classroom. So having
Yes.
said that, what I mean by that is she does not have a high school diploma. She's not pursuing any college degrees, and I have no such interest. And my son, who is 16, I just gave him a clear goal, is like he needs to pursue AI full time as much as possible. Master artificial intelligence, ChatGPT is one of the ones which people are using a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So he can create a
Mm-hmm.
career out of it because I want him to evolve with time. I don't want an identity created in the past, because when somebody loses a job as an accountant, as a programmer,
Yeah.
they immediately say, I will look for another job doing the same thing. And I wonder why they are looking for something which they actually were rejected from for some reason, right? It's like, why not create a new identity based on what is changing? And what I mean by that, Sharika, for what people should really know, and this is where I'm headed to as a final point. You are young enough possibly to know there was, or old enough to know, whichever you want to look at it, that there was no internet or not as prevalent. The smartphone wasn't that
Right.
prevalent. Like
Right.
I was here when the dinosaurs were around, there was no internet, right? So
Right.
as the internet started, website design became a thing that never existed before internet. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're watching this, you are listening to this information, and you're asking yourself some deep questions about your career, my question to you is, when internet started, website design became an automatically required product or service. So people who are providing website services were in demand because everybody needed a billboard on the information superhighway. On the other hand, today AI is growing at a rate which nothing has grown at that fast. Internet did not, Facebook did not, smartphone did not, and here it
Mm-hmm.
is, AI. ChatGPT's adoption rate is so much higher. So the question I have for you who's watching is, are you reinventing yourself with the changing times, or are you still attaching yourself to the opinions, the identity created in the past? Does that make sense to you what I'm talking about?
That makes absolute sense. The one thing I've always said is the only constant is change. The only way you can continue to grow is if you have to change, you have to challenge yourself, you have to look beyond your current circle, your current environment, your current box, whatever it is, in order to grow and advance. And I love that. And even what you were saying about your kids, as far as not putting a cap on them, someone asked me the other day, a family friend, she has a baby and he's under a year old and he was just like all over the place. And she's like, were your boys like this when they were babies? And I was like, no. And no, because yeah, they were babies, yeah, they moved around, but I didn't say, oh, because they're so young, they don't understand limits. Because they're so young, they don't understand. They won't understand if I tell them, this is dangerous or something like that. I never put those limits on my children. And so people would always say, oh, they are so independent or they, are so smart and all of these things. It's because I didn't put limits on them. I didn't say, oh, only because you're only 4, you won't know how to do this. No. And it's something I read or saw a long time ago about bees, and it says that bees are too heavy to fly. But obviously they do. And it says, well, how? Because no one ever told them that they couldn't.
Yes.
So I completely resonate. I love what you're saying, what you're about, the the whole all the things. I thank you so much.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity.
Yes, so I mean, there were so many nuggets in the one thing that Manish knows that we all need to know. Please listen, pause, go back, whatever you need to do, because I want to make sure that this really sinks in and that this really resonates, because we oftentimes get stuck in we often get in our own way. And this is what it's ultimately about: stepping out of your fear, stepping out of your comfort zone, and moving into who you were meant to be, who you were called to be, which I guarantee you will blow your mind. So, thank you again for your time. Thank you again for your expert opinion. And I want to maybe even say a little bit of fact, because these are some gems here. But thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. I appreciate it. I will make sure that your contact information is included. Please reach out. If you have a question, you want to learn more, all the things. I'll make sure that you're able to access Manish, so that if you're also interested in working with him, because I would imagine that this is a connection or someone you will want to have close in your space. So thank you again, and until next time.
Thank you.